On Mother's Day morning, my son handed me a gift bag. Inside was a DNA test and a note. "You're not really my mother." Before I could speak, he said, "You think I should be grateful? I owe you nothing." I froze. He watched for tears. Instead, I laughed and said, "I've been waiting for you to find out." He stared at me stunned. I had kept the real truth locked away for 23 years until now. The shock on Tyler's face quickly turned to anger. His jaw clenched as he held up the DNA results, waving them like a weapon. "Why are you laughing?" he demanded. "Do you think this is funny? My entire life is a lie." I set the gift bag down on the kitchen counter with trembling hands, though I kept my voice steady. "No, Tyler, your life isn't a lie. I'm still the woman who raised you, who loved you every single day of your life. But you're not my real mother. This proves it." He stabbed his finger at the paper. I took a deep breath and gestured toward the living room. "Sit down. There's more to this story than what's on that paper." He hesitated, then followed me, keeping his distance as if I were suddenly a stranger. The morning light streamed through the windows, illuminating the family photos on the wall. Happy moments frozen in time that now seemed like elaborate deceptions to him. "I never wanted you to find out this way," I said, settling into the armchair across from him. "Who gave you the idea to do a DNA test?" "Dad," Tyler said, his voice cold. "He told me there were things about you I needed to know, things you've been hiding." "Of course, Richard. My ex-husband, the man who'd promised to keep our secret as part of the divorce settlement 5 years ago. I should have known he wouldn't honor that agreement forever, especially now that he had a new wife half his age and a fresh start." "Your father shouldn't have done that without talking to me first," I said, keeping my voice controlled despite the rage building inside me. Richard knew exactly what he was doing, turning our son against me right when I was finally rebuilding my life after our divorce. "So it's true then?" Tyler leaned forward, searching my face. "You're not my biological mother." I looked into the eyes of the boy I had loved since the moment I first held him. "No, I'm not your biological mother. But there's something Richard didn't tell you. Something he couldn't tell you because he doesn't know the whole truth." Tyler's expression remained hard, but curiosity flickered across his face. "What are you talking about? Your father has only told you half the story. He's manipulating you, Tyler, using you as a weapon against me because I finally stood up to him." "Dad wouldn't do that," Tyler said, but doubt had crept into his voice. "He just thought I deserved to know the truth. If he wanted you to know the truth, he would have sat down with both of us to explain everything. Instead, he sent you here with a DNA test on Mother's Day." I shook my head. "That wasn't about truth, Tyler. That was about hurting me." Tyler looked away, and I knew I was getting through to him. He'd witnessed enough of our fights before the divorce to know his father's vindictive side. "So what is the truth?" he finally asked. I got up and went to my bedroom, returning with a small wooden box I kept locked in my closet. I'd prepared for this day, though I never thought it would come so cruelly or so soon. 23 years ago, your father and I were desperate to have a child. We tried everything: fertility treatments, surgeries, specialists. Nothing worked. I opened the box and removed a stack of old documents. That's when Richard came up with a plan. Tyler took the first paper I handed him, a contract with signatures at the bottom. His brow furrowed as he skimmed it. "A surrogacy agreement?" he asked. "Not exactly." I took a steadying breath. "Your biological mother was a young woman named Eliza. She was 19, pregnant, and alone. Your father met her when she came looking for work at his company." Tyler's eyes widened. "Dad got her pregnant?" "No. She was already pregnant when they met, but Richard saw an opportunity." I handed him another document, a private adoption agreement. He convinced her that we could give her baby a better life, that we had money and stability she couldn't provide. "So you adopted me?" Tyler seemed almost relieved by this simpler explanation. "It wasn't that straightforward. Richard didn't want a traditional adoption. He wanted everyone to believe I had given birth to you." I hesitated, knowing the next part would be hard for Tyler to hear. "He paid Eliza to disappear after you were born. We moved to a new city, told everyone I'd been pregnant, and presented you as our biological child." Tyler stood up abruptly. "This is insane. Why would Dad do this? Why would you go along with it?" "I was desperate for a child, Tyler, and your father. He cared more about appearances than anything else. He didn't want business associates or family knowing he couldn't produce an heir naturally." Tyler paced the room, processing. "So where's she now?" "My real mother?" I pulled out a sealed envelope I'd been saving for years. "I don't know. After you were born, she took Richard's money and left. He made sure there was no paper trail, no way for her to come back into our lives. I held out the envelope, but she left this for you to be given when you turned 18. Your father didn't know about it. Tyler stared at the envelope but didn't take it. Why didn't you give it to me when I turned 18? Richard threatened to take you away from me if I ever revealed the truth. By then, our marriage was already falling apart. I was afraid. Tyler finally took the envelope, his hands shaking slightly. What about the birth certificate? If you didn't give birth to me, how your father had connections? Money can make many problems disappear. I watched as Tyler's concept of his father began to crumble. Richard has always been good at making sure documents say exactly what he wants them to say. Tyler stared at the envelope in his hands. I don't even know who I am anymore. You're the same person you've always been, Tyler, my son. He shook his head, stuffing the envelope into his pocket without opening it. I need to talk to Dad to hear his side of this. Of course you do, but before you go, I reached into the wooden box one last time and pulled out a small USB drive. There's something else you should know about your father. Something I discovered right before our divorce. It's the real reason he left. Tyler took the drive, confusion written across his face. What's on this? The truth about who Richard really is, about why our marriage actually ended. I closed the wooden box. But be careful, Tyler. Your father can be dangerous when he feels threatened. Dangerous? What are you talking about? Alarm flashed in Tyler's eyes. I rolled up my sleeve, revealing the faded scar that ran from my wrist to my elbow. This wasn't from a car accident like I told everyone. Your father has secrets that go far beyond how you came into our lives. Tyler's face went pale as his gaze fixed on the scar. Dad did that to you? Before I could answer, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen and felt my blood turn to ice. Richard's name flashed on the display. Don't answer it, Tyler said suddenly, a protective edge in his voice I'd never heard before. I looked up at my son, seeing something shift in his eyes. Doubt, questions, a crack in the perfect image he'd always had of his father. But I knew Richard wouldn't stop with one phone call. Whatever game he was playing had only just begun. We need to be careful, I whispered, silencing the phone. Your father knows I've told you something by now, and he's not going to like it. What do you mean? Tyler asked, clutching the USB drive tighter. The phone chimed with a text message. When I read it, my hands began to shake uncontrollably. Mom? Tyler's voice seemed far away. What is it? I turned the phone so he could see his father's message. Tell Tyler I'm coming to get him. And Sarah, I know about the files. This time you won't walk away. Tyler's face drained of color as he read his father's message. What files is he talking about? And what does he mean you won't walk away this time? I grabbed my purse and car keys. We need to leave now. Mom, you're scaring me. Tyler followed me as I rushed to the bedroom and pulled a pre-packed emergency bag from under my bed. What's happening? Your father isn't just coming to talk, Tyler. When he's angry, he's dangerous. I tossed a few more items into the bag. I've been preparing for this possibility since the divorce. This is crazy, Tyler said, but he didn't try to stop me. You're acting like Dad's some kind of criminal. I zipped the bag and turned to face him. The USB drive I gave you contains financial records. After our divorce, I discovered your father had been embezzling money from his own company for years. He was transferring funds to offshore accounts, hiding assets from his partners and investors. That's not possible. Dad's business is legitimate. Everyone respects him. Your father is very good at creating the perfect image, but underneath he's been stealing millions. I slung the bag over my shoulder. When I confronted him about it, that's when I gestured to my scarred arm. He attacked you because you found out he was stealing money. Tyler's voice had changed, tinged with horror. He attacked me because I threatened to expose him. The car accident story was his idea, a warning of what would happen if I ever told anyone the truth. I checked my phone. No new messages, but Richard lived only 30 minutes away. The divorce settlement included my silence in exchange for my safety and yours. Tyler ran his hands through his hair, looking so much like his father it made my heart ache. If that's true, why didn't you go to the police? I tried, but your father has friends in the department, powerful friends who owed him favors. I headed toward the door, and I had no proof. He made sure of that. But the USB drive contains copies I managed to hide. Not enough to prove everything, but enough to threaten him. I grabbed my jacket. We're going to my sister Kate's cabin. She's the only one who knows about this. Tyler hesitated by the front door. I need to know if Dad's side of the story matches yours. Tyler, please, it's not safe to. I'm 23, Mom, I can make my own decisions. His jaw set stubbornly. I'll meet you at Aunt Kate's tomorrow. I need to talk to Dad first. Fear gripped my chest. You don't understand what he's capable of. He's my father. He won't hurt me. Tyler's confidence broke my heart. Besides, I'll be in public. I'll meet him at Riverside Coffee downtown. He can't do anything there. I wanted to argue, to drag him with me by force if necessary. But I knew that would only push him away. Tyler had his father's stubborn streak. Fine, I relented, but promise me you'll be careful. And don't show him the USB drive or let him know you have it. I promise, Tyler said, pulling me into a quick hug. I'll call you after I talk to him. I watched him walk to his car, my stomach knotting with anxiety. As he drove away, I sent a text to my sister Kate. Emergency. Richard knows. Tyler and I heading to cabins separately. Need your help. Her response came instantly. On my way, don't use credit cards, ditch your phone. You know the drill. Kate was the only person I'd trusted with the full truth. As a former prosecutor, she understood the legal danger I was in, and how powerful men like Richard could manipulate the system. I tossed my phone into the kitchen sink and turned on the garbage disposal, wincing at the grinding noise as it was destroyed. Then I grabbed the burner phone from my emergency bag and headed to the garage. But as I approached my car, I noticed something wasn't right. The driver's side door was slightly ajar. I froze, scanning the garage. It looked empty, but the hair on the back of my neck stood up. Slowly I backed away from the car and peered underneath. A small black device was attached near the wheel well, a tracker. Richard was already one step ahead. Instead of taking my car, I hurried through the side door of the garage and cut through my neighbor's yard to the street behind my house. Mrs. Patel was gardening in her front yard. Sarah, lovely day, isn't it? She called cheerfully. I forced a smile. Beautiful. Listen, Mrs. Patel, my car won't start. Would it be possible to borrow yours for the day? I have an emergency I need to get to. Mrs. Patel had been my friend for years, always kind and supportive after my divorce. Of course, dear. Let me get the keys. 20 minutes later, I was on the highway heading north in Mrs. Patel's old Honda, my mind racing. Tyler was meeting Richard, walking right into the lion's den, and I couldn't warn him without a phone. The thought made me sick. Kate's cabin was about 3 hours away, hidden in the woods near the lake where we'd spent summers as children. It was off the grid. No address, no internet. Perfect for disappearing. If I could get there, we'd be safe while we figured out our next move. Traffic slowed to a crawl as I approached the bridge out of town. Blue lights flashed ahead. A police checkpoint. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. This couldn't be a coincidence. Richard's friends in the department were looking for me. I took the exit before the bridge, doubling back toward the industrial district. I needed a new plan. I couldn't go north without crossing the bridge, and I couldn't risk being identified at the checkpoint. I needed help. I drove to the Crossroads bar where my old friend Maggie worked. Years ago she'd helped me document my injuries after Richard's attack, taking photos when I was too afraid to go to the hospital. She never knew the full story, but she'd always promised to help if I ever needed to run. The bar was quiet this early, with only a couple of regulars nursing beers at the counter. Maggie looked up in surprise as I walked in. "Sarah, what are you?" Her words died as she saw my face. "What's wrong?" "I need your help," I whispered, "and I need to use your phone." In the back office I explained as much as I dared while dialing Tyler's number. No answer. I left a message warning him about the police checkpoint, hoping he'd listen. Maggie handed me a set of keys. "Take my truck, it's registered in my brother's name. The cabin in the back has a sleeping bag, and some supplies." I hugged her fiercely. "I'll return it, I promise. Don't worry about that, just be safe." She pressed a small canister into my hand. "Pepper spray. And there's a baseball bat under the seat." "Thank you," I said, my voice breaking. "If Tyler comes looking for me, tell him." "I'll send him your way," Maggie assured me. "Now go." I took back roads out of town, avoiding the main highways where cameras might spot me. 2 hours later, I was deep in the countryside, taking the unmarked dirt road that led to Kate's cabin. The truck bounced over the rough terrain, branches scraping against the windows as the path narrowed. Finally, I saw smoke rising through the trees. Kate was already there. I parked behind her car and hurried up the porch steps. The door swung open before I could knock. "Thank God," Kate said, pulling me into a fierce hug. I was getting worried. Richard had my car bugged, and there's a police checkpoint on the bridge. I followed her inside, dropping my bag on the floor. Tyler went to meet him. I tried calling but couldn't reach him. Kate's expression darkened. "Richard's moving fast. This isn't just about the adoption anymore. He knows I have evidence of the embezzlement, I said, sinking into a chair by the fireplace. I gave Tyler a copy on a USB drive. You did what? Kate's eyes widened. Sarah, if Richard finds out Tyler has that, I know, I interrupted, sick with worry. I wasn't thinking clearly. I just wanted Tyler to understand who his father really is. Kate ran a hand through her short gray hair. We need a new plan. If Richard suspects Tyler has evidence, he'll do whatever it takes to get it back. I need to warn him. I reached for the burner phone, but Kate stopped me. We can't risk it. If Richard is using police resources, they could be tracking all calls to Tyler's phone. Fear twisted in my stomach. Then what do we do? Kate pulled out her laptop. First we back up the evidence, then we find a way to protect both you and Tyler. As Kate worked, I paced the small cabin, peering out the windows at every sound. The sun was setting, casting long shadows through the trees. Tyler should have called by now. A sudden crack outside made us both freeze. Kate motioned for me to stay quiet as she reached for the shotgun mounted above the fireplace. Probably just a deer, she whispered, but her tense posture said otherwise. Another crack, closer this time. Then a voice called out, "Mom, Aunt Kate, it's me." Relief flooded through me as I rushed to the door and flung it open. Tyler stood on the porch, his face pale and strained in the dying light. "Tyler, thank God you're—" My words died as I saw the dark figure standing behind him, a familiar hand gripping my son's shoulder. "Hello, Sarah," Richard said, smiling coldly. Family reunion time. Behind me I heard Kate cock the shotgun, but Richard simply raised his other hand, revealing the glint of a pistol pressed against Tyler's side. Now, Catherine," he said smoothly. "Let's keep this civilized, shall we? I just want to talk about those files my loving wife stole from me." Tyler's eyes met mine, filled with fear and something else, a silent message he was trying to convey. I noticed his hand in his pocket clutching something tightly, the USB drive. It was still safe, but for how long? Time seemed to freeze as I stared at Richard holding a gun to our son's side. Behind me Kate kept the shotgun raised, but we all knew she wouldn't risk Tyler's safety. "Put the gun down, Kate," Richard said calmly. "Let's be civilized about this." Civilized? Kate's voice was steel. "Breaking and entering with a firearm isn't what I'd call civilized, Richard." Richard chuckled, the sound sending ice down my spine. "I didn't break anything, your nephew invited me." He nudged Tyler forward. "Didn't you, San?" Tyler's eyes met mine, filled with regret. "I'm sorry, Mom, he followed me from the coffee shop. I didn't know until it was too late." "It's not your fault," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Richard, please let Tyler go. This is between you and me." "That's where you're wrong, Sarah." Richard stepped onto the porch, forcing Tyler forward. "This became about all of us the moment you stole my files and poisoned my son against me." Kate slowly lowered the shotgun but didn't set it down. "What do you want, Richard?" "Just what belongs to me." His gaze fixed on me. "The files, Sarah, all copies." Now, I swallowed hard. Let Tyler come inside first. Not a chance. Richard's grip on Tyler's shoulder tightened. "The files. You have 30 seconds before I call my friends at the station and report that my mentally unstable ex-wife has kidnapped our son and is threatening him with a shotgun." "You wouldn't," Kate scoffed. "That would bring too much attention. Questions about why Sarah ran in the first place." Richard's smooth smile didn't waver. "Who do you think they'll believe? The respected business owner or the woman who's been making wild accusations for years? The cabin's unregistered, Catherine. You're harboring a fugitive. Your legal career would be over." I stepped forward. "I'll get the files. Just don't hurt Tyler." As I turned to go back inside, Tyler suddenly jerked his elbow back, catching Richard in the stomach. In that split second of surprise, Tyler twisted away and sprinted toward the tree line. "Tyler," Richard snarled, raising the gun. "No!" I screamed, lunging forward as Kate simultaneously raised the shotgun. Richard hesitated, caught between his fleeing son and two women ready to attack. That moment of indecision gave Tyler the seconds he needed to disappear into the darkening forest. Richard rounded on me, fury distorting his handsome features. "You see what you've done? Turned my own son against me." "Your son finally sees who you really are," I said, finding courage I didn't know I had. "A manipulative, violent thief." The gun swung toward me. I should have finished what I started 5 years ago. Kate stepped forward, shotgun steady. "That would be a mistake, Richard. I've got security cameras all over this property." She gestured to the corner of the porch where a small camera was indeed mounted. "Everything you've done is already recorded and uploaded to my cloud storage." Richard's eyes darted to the camera, uncertainty crossing his face for the first time. "You're bluffing, am I?" Kate's voice was calm. "Former prosecutor, remember? I know how to build a case." A tense silence stretched between us as Richard calculated his options. Finally he lowered the gun slightly. "I want those files, Sarah, all of them. This doesn't end until I get them." "Let's talk inside," I suggested, hoping to defuse the situation. "Tyler's gone. There's no need for weapons now." Richard studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Fine, but I'm keeping this." He gestured with the gun. "Insurance policy." I glanced at Kate, who gave me a subtle nod. We had a plan for this scenario, one we'd discussed years ago when I first discovered Richard's financial crimes. Inside the cabin, Richard took a seat at the small dining table, keeping the gun visible. "Where are the files?" I sat across from him, my hands flat on the table where he could see them. "They're safe. But before I tell you, I want to know something." I met his gaze directly. "Why did you tell Tyler about his adoption now after all these years?" A flicker of surprise crossed Richard's face. "You think I planned this?" "Tyler did the DNA test on his own. Apparently his new girlfriend got him one of those ancestry kits for his birthday." His mouth twisted into a cruel smile. "I simply saw an opportunity when he came to me with the results. To turn him against me," I said, "the pieces falling into place. So I'd be isolated when you came for the evidence." "Smart as ever, Sarah." Richard leaned back, seemingly relaxed despite the tension in the room, but not smart enough. "You should have destroyed those files years ago." Kate stood by the fireplace, the shotgun now propped beside her but still within reach. "Why are you so worried about these files, Richard? The statute of limitations must have run out on most of your schemes by now." Richard's eyes hardened. "Let's just say some of my business activities are ongoing, and those files connect too many dots." "Enough to send you to prison?" I asked. "Enough to ruin everything I've built?" Richard leaned forward. "I've worked too hard to let that happen. I thought of Tyler out in the dark woods alone, still clutching the USB drive that could destroy his father. This has to end, Richard. We can't keep living like this." "Then give me what I want." His voice dropped dangerously. "All copies of the files and your sworn statement that you'll never speak about any of this again." "And if I do?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Richard smiled coldly. "Then neither you nor Tyler will ever feel safe again. You know what I'm capable of, Sarah." The casual way he threatened our lives made something shift inside me. For years I'd lived in fear of this man, walking on eggshells even after our divorce. But watching him threaten Tyler had crossed a line. "Actually, Richard," I said slowly, "I don't think you know what I'm capable of." Confusion flickered across his face. "What's that supposed to mean?" I glanced at Kate, who gave me an almost imperceptible nod. "I've been planning for this moment for 5 years," I continued. "Every threatening text, every veiled warning, every violation of our custody agreement, I documented all of it." "Your word against mine?" Richard scoffed. "Not just my word." I pulled out the burner phone from my pocket and placed it on the table. Kate wasn't the only one recording today. I've been recording everything since the moment Tyler showed me the DNA test this morning. Richard's eyes narrowed. "No judge would admit that without consent." "In this state, only one party needs to consent to a recording," Kate interjected, and Sarah consented. "But that's not all," I continued, my confidence growing. "The files you're so desperate to get back, I never had the originals. I only had copies." "You're lying," Richard hissed. "The originals went to the FBI 3 years ago," I said quietly. Richard's face drained of color. "That's impossible. There's been no investigation." "Federal investigations can take years," Kate said, "especially for complex financial crimes." "You're bluffing," Richard said. But doubt had crept into his voice. "If you'd gone to the FBI, they would have interviewed me by now." "They did," I replied. "That business audit last year, that wasn't routine, Richard. And those new investors who've been asking so many questions about your accounting practices, they're not just investors." For the first time I saw genuine fear in Richard's eyes. "You're working with them." "I've been working with them since the divorce," I confirmed. "They needed someone on the inside, someone who knew where to look. It took time to build the case, but it's done now." I leaned forward. "The only reason you haven't been arrested yet is because they're after your partners too, the entire network." The gun in Richard's hand trembled slightly. "If that were true, they would have warned you I was coming." "They did," Kate said. "Why do you think we were ready for you?" A twig snapped outside the window, drawing Richard's attention momentarily. I used that split second to slide my hand under the table, finding the panic button Kate had installed. One press would send an alert to the local police, the ones who weren't on Richard's payroll. "It's over, Richard," I said gently, almost feeling sorry for him as his carefully constructed world began to collapse. "Put the gun down." His handsome face contorted with rage. "You stupid bitch. Do you have any idea what these people will do to me if I go down? They don't leave loose ends." "All the more reason to cooperate with the authorities," Kate suggested. "A reduced sentence for information." Richard laughed bitterly. "You think I'm worried about prison? These people don't care about the law, they'll reach me anywhere." A cold realization washed over me. Richard wasn't just embezzling from his company, he was laundering money for someone dangerous. Someone who would kill to protect their operation. "Then let us help you," I offered, suddenly seeing Richard not as a monster but as a trapped animal. "The FBI can protect you." "It's too late for that." Richard stood abruptly, the gun wavering between Kate and me. "I need those files, now." The door behind him creaked, drawing all our attention. Tyler stood in the doorway, pale but determined. "Tyler," I gasped, "get out of here." But Tyler didn't move. His eyes were fixed on his father. "I heard everything, Dad." Richard turned, keeping the gun half raised. "Son, you don't understand. Your mother is manipulating you." "I understand enough." Tyler's voice was steady. "I saw the files on the USB drive." "I know what you've done. Those files are fake," Richard insisted. "Your mother doctored them to turn you against me." Tyler stepped into the cabin, closing the door behind him. "I showed them to someone who could verify them." Richard faltered. "What? Who?" "Martin Greaves," Tyler said, naming Richard's business partner. "I called him after I left the coffee shop. He confirmed everything." Richard's face went ashen. "You contacted Martin? Tyler, what have you done?" "I needed to know the truth," Tyler said simply, "and now I do." The gun in Richard's hand dropped to his side as the full impact of Tyler's words hit him. If Martin knew that Tyler had the files, it was truly over. Martin would never risk being implicated. "Tyler," Richard whispered, his voice suddenly desperate, "you've put yourself in danger. These people, they'll come after you too now." For the first time I saw a genuine concern for our son in Richard's eyes, not as a possession to control but as someone he actually feared for. Tyler stepped closer to me, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. "Then we'll face that together as a family, the real family you tried to destroy." Richard looked between us, the gun hanging limply at his side. The distant wail of police sirens filtered through the trees. "It's over, Richard," I said softly. "Put the gun down." As the sirens grew louder, Richard looked at the weapon in his hand as if seeing it for the first time. His shoulders slumped, and for a brief moment, I glimpsed the man I had once loved. Before ambition and greed had twisted him, he slowly placed the gun on the table. "Tyler," he said, his voice cracking, "I never meant for any of this to touch you." The sirens were close now, blue lights flashing through the trees as vehicles approached the cabin. Richard closed his eyes briefly, then straightened his shoulders and fixed his gaze on me. "This isn't the end, Sarah," he said quietly. "Some things can't be fixed with handcuffs and prison bars." The cryptic warning sent a chill through me as Tyler's grip on my shoulder tightened. What did Richard mean? What hadn't he told us about the people he worked for? As police officers surrounded the cabin, I realized with sinking certainty that our ordeal was far from over. The cabin filled with uniformed officers, their voices and movements a blur as I kept my eyes fixed on Richard. Even as they handcuffed him and read him his rights, he maintained that eerie calmness that had always been his strength in business, and his most frightening quality at home. "Detective Rivera," Kate greeted a tall woman who entered last. "Thank you for coming so quickly." "Catherine." The detective nodded. "We got your alert and I see the situation is complicated." Her eyes moved from Richard to me, then to Tyler. "This is my sister Sarah and her son Tyler," Kate explained. "And that's Richard Harmon, Sarah's ex-husband. He followed them here with a weapon." "It's a registered firearm," Richard said smoothly. "And I was simply trying to protect my son from his unstable mother." Detective Rivera's expression remained neutral. "We'll sort this out at the station, Mr. Harmon." As the officers led Richard toward the door, he paused beside Tyler. "Son, whatever happens, remember that everything I did was for our family, for you." Tyler stepped back, his face hard. "Save it, Dad." Something dark flashed in Richard's eyes before the practice charm returned. "You'll understand someday." He glanced at me. "Sarah, this isn't over." After the police escorted Richard out, Detective Rivera stayed behind to take our statements. I told her everything, the financial crimes, the ABT, the threats, while Kate provided the recordings from the cabin security system. These allegations are serious, Rivera said when I finished, and complicated by jurisdictional issues. The financial crimes cross state lines, possibly international borders. The FBI is already involved, I explained. Agent Daniels is my contact. Rivera nodded. I'll coordinate with them. In the meantime, Mr. Harmon will be held on charges of breaking and entering, assault and making threats with a deadly weapon. Will that be enough to keep him in custody? Kate asked. He has considerable resources. We'll push for no bail given the flight risk, Rivera assured us. But I won't lie to you. Men like Richard Harmon rarely stay behind bars for long. After Rivera left, the three of us sat in exhausted silence. Tyler stared into the fireplace. The events of the day etched in the new lines of his face. I'm sorry, Tyler, I finally said. This isn't how I wanted you to learn the truth. Which truth? He asked quietly. About my birth, about Dad's crimes, about your lies? His words stung, but I couldn't blame him. All of it. I thought I was protecting you. By hiding who I really am? By letting me believe Dad was someone he wasn't? Tyler's voice cracked. My whole life feels like a fraud. Kate stepped in. Tyler, your mother did what she thought was best in an impossible situation. Richard threatened to take you away from her if she ever told the truth. Tyler ran his hands through his hair. I get that. But doesn't anyone in this family believe in just being honest? I moved to sit beside him. You're right. I should have found a way to tell you the truth years ago, about your birth at least. I took his hand. But you have to understand something. You are who you've always been. Your identity isn't defined by biology or by Richard's crimes. Then what is it defined by? He asked, vulnerability replacing anger. By the choices you make. By the person you choose to be. I squeezed his hand. And today, you chose to be brave and stand up for what's right. I'm so proud of you for that. Tyler was quiet for a moment. I still have so many questions about my biological mother, about who I am, I know, and I promise no more secrets. I gestured to the envelope he'd put in his pocket earlier. Her letter might have some answers. Tyler pulled out the envelope, tracing his finger over the faded writing. I'm not sure I'm ready to read it yet. Whenever you are, I'll be here. I promised. The cabin door opened suddenly as a uniformed officer rushed in. Miss Bennett, there's a situation. He looked at Kate. A man just arrived claiming to be Mr. Harmon's business partner. He's demanding to speak with you and your nephew immediately. Kate and I exchanged alarmed glances. Martin Greaves, I said. Tyler called him earlier. Is he alone? Kate asked the officer. As far as we can tell, but he seems agitated. Tyler stood. I'll talk to him. He deserves to know what's happening. Tyler, no, I protested. If Martin is involved in Richard's schemes, he could be dangerous. He sounded scared on the phone, Mom, not threatening. Tyler's expression hardened. Besides, I'm done hiding from the truth. Kate nodded to the officer. Bring him in, but stay close. Moments later, Martin Greaves entered the cabin. Unlike Richard's polished appearance, Martin looked disheveled. His expensive suit wrinkled and his salt and pepper hair uncombed. His eyes darted nervously around the room before settling on Tyler. Tyler, thank God. He stepped forward, ignoring Kate and me. Do you have any idea what you've done? Calling me on an open line about those files was incredibly dangerous. Tyler stood his ground. I needed to confirm what was in them, and now they know you have them. Martin ran a shaking hand through his hair. They're cleaning house as we speak. Richard's arrest bought us a little time, but they'll be coming for all of us now. Who's they, Mr. Greaves? Kate asked. Martin seemed to notice her for the first time. You must be the prosecutor's sister. He turned to me. And Sarah, I should have listened to you years ago when you tried to warn me about Richard. Warned you about what? I asked, confused. That Richard was getting us involved with dangerous people? Martin sank into a chair, suddenly looking much older than his 50 years. It started small, just helping some clients move money around, avoid some taxes, standard rich people stuff. But then the clients got bigger, the operations more complex. You're talking about money laundering, Kate said flatly. Martin nodded. For people who don't take kindly to federal investigations, people who solve problems permanently. A chill ran through me. The FBI knows about this, they can protect you. They've been building their case for years. Martin laughed bitterly. That lot of good that does me now. The moment these people realized Richard was arrested, they started covering their tracks. How do you know this? Tyler asked. Because our head of security was just found dead in his car. Suicide, apparently. Martin made air quotes around the word, and 2 of our overseas account managers have gone silent. These people don't leave witnesses, Tyler. The implications hit me like a physical blow. If Richard's criminal associates were eliminating everyone connected to their operation, then all of us, Martin, Tyler, Kate and I, were in danger. We need to call Agent Daniels, I said, reaching for the burner phone. No time, Martin said. They're always a step behind. We need to disappear, all of us. That's not an option, Kate argued. Running makes you look guilty. The FBI can provide witness protection. She's right, Tyler added. We have evidence. We can bring these people down. Martin shook his head. You don't understand who we're dealing with. These people have connections everywhere: law enforcement, judiciary, politics. Why do you think it's taken the FBI years to build their case? The system is compromised. As they argued, I stared out the window at the darkening forest, thinking about Richard's parting words. This isn't over. He knew what would happen once he was arrested. He knew his partners would start eliminating loose ends. Had he come to the cabin not just to retrieve the files but to warn us in his own way? The realization hit me with stunning clarity. Richard might be a criminal, but he cared about Tyler. In his twisted way, he'd been trying to protect our son. I turned back to the room. Martin, who exactly are these people? I need names. Before Martin could answer, headlights swept across the cabin windows as several vehicles pulled up outside. The officer by the door peered out. It's the FBI, he announced with relief. Agent Daniels is here. Martin's face went pale. How did they find us so quickly? I activated the panic button, Kate explained. It alerts both local police and the FBI field office. Then we're saved, Tyler said. But the terror on Martin's face told a different story. No, Martin whispered. If they found us this fast, the front door opened, and a man in a dark suit stepped in, showing his badge. Agent Daniels, FBI. We need to move all of you to a secure location immediately. I studied the agent's face, my stomach nodding. You're not Daniels. The man's expression didn't change. I'm Agent Wilson. Daniels sent me. That's not possible, I said, backing away. I spoke to Agent Daniels this morning. She's a woman. A split second of confusion crossed the man's face before his hand moved toward his jacket. Martin lunged forward, tackling him to the ground as Kate shouted for the officer to draw his weapon. The cabin erupted into chaos. More men pushed through the door as shots rang out. I grabbed Tyler and pulled him toward the back bedroom where there was a hidden exit Kate had installed years ago. Mom, what's happening? Tyler yelled over the commotion. They're not FBI, I shouted, pushing him through the narrow hallway. They're Richard's partners. We reached the bedroom, and I shoved the heavy dresser aside, revealing a small door built into the wall. Outside, I could hear Kate's voice, then more gunshots. We can't leave them, Tyler protested. We have to, I said, choking back tears. Kate knew this might happen. It's why she built this escape route. We need to get to safety and contact the real FBI. As I pushed the hidden door open, Tyler suddenly grabbed my arm. Mom, the letter. I dropped it in the living room. Tyler, we don't have time. It's the only link I have to my real mother, he insisted, his eyes desperate. Before I could stop him, Tyler darted back toward the front of the cabin. I cursed and followed, my heart pounding with terror. The living room was a battleground. The police officer lay motionless by the door. Kate had taken cover behind the overturned dining table, her shotgun trained on the entrance where 2 men in dark suits were trying to push their way in. Martin was nowhere to be seen. Tyler crouched low, searching the floor for the dropped envelope. I spotted it near the fireplace and crawled toward it, grabbing the yellowed paper just as one of the men noticed us. There, he shouted, raising his weapon. Kate fired the shotgun, forcing him back. Run, she screamed at us. I'll hold them off. I clutched the envelope in Tyler's hand, pulling him back toward the escape route. The last thing I saw was Kate reloading the shotgun, her face set with grim determination. Kate, I cried, but Tyler dragged me away. She's giving us a chance, he said, tears streaming down his face. Don't waste it. We crashed through the hidden door and into the cold night, the sounds of gunfire fading behind us. The forest loomed dark and imposing, offering both protection and new dangers. What now? Tyler gasped as we ran. I squeezed his hand tighter. We survive, we find help, and then we make these people pay for what they've done. Tyler nodded, his jaw set with determination that mirrored my own. As we plunged deeper into the woods, I realized that while Richard may have taken everything else from me, my sense of security, my trust, perhaps even my sister, he had failed to take the one thing that mattered most, my son, my real family. And for that, I would fight with everything I had. The forest seemed endless as Tyler and I pushed forward through the darkness. Every sound, a twig snapping, leaves rustling, sent my heart racing. I kept Tyler's hand firmly in mine, afraid that if I let go for even a moment, he too would be taken from me. "We need to find a road," I whispered, my breath forming small clouds in the cold night air. "Get to a town, contact the real FBI." Tyler nodded, his face ghostly in the moonlight that filtered through the trees. "I think we're heading north. There should be a highway about 5 miles in that direction." We trudged on, the adrenaline that had fueled our escape gradually fading, leaving exhaustion in its wake. My thoughts kept returning to Kate. Had she survived the attack? And Martin, had he escaped? Or was he one of the casualties? "Mom," Tyler said after we'd been walking for nearly an hour, "I need to rest for a minute." We found shelter beneath a large oak tree, huddling together against the chill. I pulled the envelope from my pocket, the letter from Tyler's biological mother that he'd risked his life to retrieve. "Do you want to read it now?" I asked, holding it out to him. Tyler stared at the envelope for a long moment. "I think I do," he finally said, taking it with trembling hands. As he carefully opened the worn paper, I kept watch, scanning the darkness around us. Tyler unfolded a handwritten letter and a small photograph fell out. He picked it up, studying it in the dim moonlight. "It's her," he whispered. "My birth mother." I leaned over to see a young woman with Tyler's same dark eyes and gentle smile. The resemblance was unmistakable. Tyler began reading the letter aloud, his voice soft with emotion. "My dearest child, by the time you read this, you will be a grown person with a life I can only imagine. My name is Eliza Reyes. I was 18 when I became pregnant with you, alone and scared. Your father, your biological father, was my high school boyfriend who left for college and never looked back when I told him about you. I want you to know that giving you up was the hardest decision I've ever made. I had dreams of being a doctor, of helping people. I wasn't ready to be a mother, but I loved you from the moment I knew you existed. When Richard and Sarah Harmon offered to adopt you, it seemed like a miracle. They had everything I couldn't give you: stability, education, opportunities. But as the birth grew closer, Richard changed. He began pressuring me to keep the adoption secret, to sign papers that gave away all my rights. Something felt wrong, but I was young and overwhelmed. After you were born, Richard paid me to disappear. He threatened to ruin my life if I ever tried to contact you." Tyler paused, his hands shaking. I placed my arm around his shoulders as he continued. "I took the money because I was desperate, but I've regretted it every day since. I used it to go to nursing school. Not quite a doctor, but I help people. I've built a life in Seattle, always wondering about you, always hoping you were safe and loved. I don't know what Sarah has told you about your birth. Richard forced her to pretend you were born to her, and I believe she went along with it because she truly wanted to be your mother. Don't blame her for the deception. Blame Richard and his obsession with appearances. If you're reading this, it means you've discovered the truth. And Sarah has honored my one request, that you would someday know who you really are. My deepest hope is that somewhere in your heart you might find room to forgive a scared teenager who made an impossible choice. If you ever want to find me, I've enclosed my contact information. Whether you choose to reach out or not, know that you have always been loved by the mother who raised you, and by the one who gave you life. With all my heart, Eliza." Tyler folded the letter carefully, tears streaming down his face. "She's alive. She's in Seattle." I squeezed his hand, my own eyes wet. "She sounds like an amazing woman." "She doesn't blame you," Tyler said, looking at me with new understanding, "and neither do I, not anymore." A wave of relief washed over me. "Tyler, I'm so sorry for all the lies. I told myself I was protecting you, but I was also protecting myself from losing you. I know, and I get it now." He tucked the letter carefully into his jacket. "After seeing what Dad did, what he's capable of, I understand why you were scared." A distant sound broke the moment. Voices calling through the trees. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness, sweeping back and forth. "They found us," I whispered, pulling Tyler to his feet. "Wait," Tyler said, peering into the darkness. "Listen to what they're saying." I strained to hear, catching fragments of calls. "FBI, safe to come out. Catherine Bennett sent us." "It could be a trap," I warned. Tyler nodded. "Or it could be our only chance. We can't stay out here forever." He was right. We were cold, exhausted, and had nowhere else to go. I grabbed a heavy branch from the ground, gripping it like a weapon. "Stay behind me," I instructed. "If anything seems wrong, we run." We moved cautiously toward the voices. As we got closer, I could make out a group of people in FBI windbreakers, their flashlights systematically searching the forest. "Hello?" I called tentatively. The flashlights swung in our direction, momentarily blinding us. "Sarah Harmon?" a woman's voice called back. "Tyler Harmon?" "Yes," I answered, still holding the branch. "Who are you?" A tall woman stepped forward, lowering her flashlight. "Agent Daniels, FBI. Catherine sent us your location before the cabin was attacked." "Prove it," Tyler demanded. "My mom said Agent Daniels is a woman." The agent nodded approvingly. "Smart. Agent Melissa Daniels, Counterintelligence Division. I've been working with your mother for 3 years on the Harmon-Greaves investigation." She pulled out her phone, showing us a photo of herself with me at a coffee shop, a meeting Richard had never known about. Relief flooded through me as I recognized her. "Kate? Is she?" Agent Daniels' expression softened. "She's alive, injured but stable. The local officer didn't make it. Martin Greaves is in custody. He surrendered as soon as our team arrived." We followed the agents back to a clearing where several vehicles waited. As we approached, a familiar figure emerged from one of the cars. "Kate!" I cried, running to embrace my sister. Her arm was in a sling, and a bandage covered one side of her face, but she was upright and alert. "Easy." She winced, returning the hug with her good arm. "Took a bullet to the shoulder, hurts like hell." Tyler joined our embrace, careful of Kate's injuries. "I thought we'd lost you." "Not a chance," Kate said with a weak smile. "Those guys were professionals, but they didn't know about my panic room behind the fireplace. Gave me time to call in the cavalry." Agent Daniels approached us. "We need to get you all to a secure location." The men who attacked the cabin were hired by the Vega cartel. They've been using Harmon's business to launder money for years. "Richard?" I asked, my stomach nodding. "Is he in protective custody?" Daniels confirmed. Once he realized the cartel was cleaning house, he started talking, gave us names, accounts, everything to save himself, Tyler said bitterly. "And you," Daniels added. His first concern was making sure we found you two before the cartel did. I didn't know how to feel about that. Even after everything, some small part of Richard had still cared enough to try to protect our son. Inside the FBI vehicle, wrapped in shock blankets, we were briefed on what would happen next. Witness protection, new identities, a complete separation from our old lives, at least until the cartel members were apprehended. "What about Eliza Reyes?" Tyler asked. "My biological mother, she's in Seattle." Agent Daniels made a note. "We'll locate her, make sure she's safe. If the cartel knows about your adoption, she could be at risk too." As we drove away from the forest, I stared out the window at the first hints of dawn breaking through the trees. Everything had changed in less than 24 hours. My carefully constructed life had been shattered, yet somehow I felt more whole than I had in years. Tyler reached for my hand. "We're going to be okay, Mom?" I squeezed his fingers. "Yes, we are." 6 months later, in a small house on the outskirts of Portland, I sat on the porch watching Tyler and Eliza Reyes talk animatedly in the garden. After the main cartel leaders had been arrested, our witness protection restrictions had been eased enough to allow this carefully arranged meeting. Eliza had cried when she first saw Tyler, touching his face as if she couldn't believe he was real. They had the same laugh, the same way of tilting their head when concentrating. Watching them together brought a bittersweet joy I hadn't expected. Kate joined me on the porch, her arm fully healed now. "They seem to be hitting it off." "They are," I agreed. "He's going to visit her in Seattle next month. She's offered to help him apply to nursing school there." "And you're okay with that?" Kate asked gently. I nodded. "He's found a part of himself that was missing. I can't begrudge him that. You're a good mother, Sarah. The best kind, one who puts her child's needs above her own." Tears pricked my eyes. "I just want him to be happy." The door opened behind us, and Agent Daniels stepped out, phone in hand. "I just got word. Richard's testimony secured the final conviction. The case is officially closed. A weight I'd carried for years finally lifted." "So what happens to him now?" "Reduced sentence, served in a minimum security facility. He'll be out in 7 years with good behavior." I absorbed this news, surprised at my lack of anger. Richard would pay for his crimes but not with his life. Perhaps that was justice enough. "Mom," Tyler called from the garden. "Come meet Eliza properly, she wants to thank you." As I joined them, Eliza took my hands in hers. "Thank you for raising such an amazing young man, for loving him when I couldn't." "Thank you for giving me the chance to be his mother," I replied, truly meaning it. That evening, as the 4 of us shared dinner together, me, Tyler, Eliza, and Kate, I realized we had created something beautiful from the ruins of Richard's deception. Not a conventional family, but a real one. One built on truth, forgiveness, and choice rather than lies and manipulation. When Tyler proposed a toast, raising his glass with a smile that reminded me of both his mothers, I knew we had all found our way home. To family, he said simply. The one we choose. To family, we echoed, our glasses clinking in the warm evening light. Outside, the sun was setting on one chapter of our lives as a new one began, one where no truth was too difficult to face as long as we faced it together. Thanks for watching, take care, good luck.
After listening to today's story, perhaps it has raised some new questions in your mind, or maybe it has brought back some old memories. Every day on Reddit, new experiences and moments create fresh stories, and they connect all of us. Everyone has their own unique journey in life, and we all try to understand the world in our own way. These kinds of moments remind us that we are all human, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, and always learning something new. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to share it with your friends. Your thoughts and feedback are always valuable to us, as they motivate us to create even better content. Every story has its own unique angle, and our goal is to understand everyone's perspective and make our content diverse and relatable. Stories like these help us realize that life's journey is different for everyone, and by hearing other stories, we learn something new. You can also share your own stories with us. Your experiences are valuable to us as well, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave your feedback. We aim to create content that brightens your mind and gives you new ideas every time. If you've already seen this video before, your feedback is still important. With every piece of feedback, we can improve our content and bring a new perspective to our viewers. Today, what we saw was just a small part of the many stories shared on Reddit and across the world. It's a reminder of how we all try to understand life by sharing our experiences with each other. This video was only an example of how we try to connect with others through storytelling, learning about different sides of life. We hope to continue sharing such stories that help us all learn and grow together. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to keep an eye out for more stories coming soon. If you haven't already, please like and follow for more amazing content. Your support keeps us going, and we will strive to bring you more thought-provoking and heartwarming stories. Until next time, take care and stay curious. *.